You don't always realize when someone is protecting you. Sometimes the protection is so quiet, so carefully hidden, that you only understand it years later, when the ground shifts and everything above it starts to crack. I'm 34 now. 3 years ago, I stood in a county clerk's office holding a piece of paper that changed everything I thought I knew about my family. But to understand that moment, I need to go back further. To a workshop that smelled like sawdust and silence. To a man who taught me that value and visibility are not the same thing. My grandfather's name was Arthur. Arthur Brennan. He died on a Wednesday in October, and I found out Thursday morning through a text message from my older sister, Vanessa. Grandpa passed last night. Funeral is Saturday. Mom says keep it simple. No call, no conversation. Just 12 words delivered between her morning commute and her first meeting. I sat with my phone in my hand for 20 minutes. The notification was still glowing on the screen when I finally moved. Arthur had been a geologist, not the kind who teaches or publishes. He worked in the field, 38 years mapping mineral deposits across the Appalachian Range, mostly for private mining operations. He retired at 60 and bought 47 acres in the Blue Ridge foothills. Built a small house, built a larger workshop. Spent his evenings reading survey maps the way other men read newspapers. I was the only grandchild who ever asked him what the maps meant. The funeral was efficient. My mother, Patricia, organized it with the same precision she used to run her real estate firm, flower arrangements in muted tones, a minister who had never met Arthur but spoke in gentle, non-specific platitudes. Vanessa stood beside her husband, checking her phone twice during the service. My brother-in-law worked in commercial development. I noticed him whispering to Vanessa near the end, something about market conditions and timing. I didn't speak at the service. I had written something the night before, about the summers the first spent learning to identify shale from slate, about how Arthur never simplified things for me, never dumbed down the science. But when I stood to approach the podium, my mother caught my eye. She gave a small shake of her head. "We're running long," she mouthed. I sat back down. Afterward, in the parking lot, I asked about the property. "What's happening with Grandpa's land?" Patricia adjusted her sunglasses. "We're handling it, Claire, don't worry." "I'm not worried, I'm asking." "The estate is being settled. Vanessa and I are co-executors." I felt something shift in my chest, something small but specific. "He didn't have a will?" "No will. It happens more often than you'd think." Her tone was brisk, businesslike, the same voice she used with difficult clients. "Can I at least go through his workshop? There might be things. We've already started clearing it out. Most of it's junk, honestly, old tools, boxes of rocks." She softened slightly, reached out to touch my arm. "If there's something sentimental you want, I'll let you know." She walked to her car before I could respond. I stood there, keys in hand, trying to name what I was feeling. It wasn't grief. It was something colder. 2 weeks later, I drove to the property unannounced. It was early November, the hills were rust and amber, and the air had that thin, metallic quality it gets before the first frost. I pulled up the gravel drive and stopped. There was a lockbox on the front door. The kind realtors use. I got out slowly, walked to the porch. The small wooden sign Arthur had carved, Brennan, established 1991, was gone. In its place, a glossy for sale sign. Palmer Associates Realty, Patricia Palmer, broker. My mother's firm. My mother's name. I called her from the driveway. She picked up on the fourth ring. "Claire, I'm with a client. You're selling Grandpa's house." A pause. I could hear wind on her end. She'd stepped outside. "We're liquidating the estate. It's standard procedure." "You didn't tell me." "I'm telling you now." My hands were shaking. I gripped the phone tighter. "How much are you listing it for?" "That's not really your concern. He was my grandfather. And he was my father." Her voice sharpened. "I'm the one dealing with the taxes, the probate, the decades of deferred maintenance. You visited twice a year, Claire. Don't pretend this is about sentimentality." I wanted to say more. I wanted to ask why she changed the locks, why she hadn't let me say goodbye to the workshop, why everything felt like it was moving too fast. But I didn't. I just stood there, staring at the for sale sign, feeling the November wind cut through my jacket. "I have to go," Patricia said. "We'll talk later." She hung up. I didn't leave right away. I walked around to the back of the property, past the garden beds Arthur used to tend, past the split rail fence that needed mending. The workshop was still there. Small, weather-beaten, the door slightly crooked in its frame. I tried the handle. Locked. But when I pushed, the wood gave slightly. The frame had warped over the years, and there was a gap, just wide enough. I hesitated. Then I slipped inside, The workshop smelled exactly the same. Oil and sawdust and something deeper, mineral dust, maybe, from all those years of field samples. Arthur's workbench was still covered in his things: a magnifying lamp, a cracked coffee mug holding pencils, stacks of topographic maps, edges curling. I ran my hand along the bench. And that's when I saw it. A wooden box, about the size of a shoebox, sitting on the lowest shelf beneath a tarp. It was made from cherry wood, hand-planed. Arthur's initials were burned into the lid. A. G. B. Underneath, in smaller letters, for Claire. My throat tightened. I lifted the box carefully, set it on the bench, and opened it. Inside, 3 items. A sealed envelope with my name on it. A small stone, pyrite, maybe, or chalcopyrite, wrapped in tissue paper. And a single legal document, folded in thirds. I unfolded the document first. Deed of Mineral Rights Severance and Transfer. Grantor, Arthur James Brennan. Grantee, Claire Brennan Hayes. Parcel, 47 acres, Blue Ridge County. Date recorded, April 17, 2019. I read it 3 times. Arthur had separated the mineral rights from the surface property. And he had transferred them to me. For years before he died. The document was notarized, recorded with the county, legal and binding. I opened the envelope next. Arthur's handwriting, steady, slanted, familiar. Claire. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and your mother has likely already started selling the house. I don't blame her. Patricia has always measured value in terms she can control. That's not a criticism, it's just how she's built. But you're different. You asked questions, you listened, you cared about the work, not the result. So I want you to have what matters. 4 years ago, I commissioned a private geological survey of this property. The results showed something I suspected for years: there's a significant mineral deposit beneath the southern ridge. Rare earth elements, primarily. I separated the mineral rights and transferred them to you. The surface can be sold, the house, the land, the trees, that's all Patricia's to do with as she wants. But what's underneath belongs to you. The most recent market valuation is in the envelope. It's not a fortune, but it's more than fair. Don't let anyone tell you this wasn't yours to have. You earned it by paying attention. Grandpa. I sat on the workshop floor and cried. Not loudly. Just quietly, the way you cry when you realize someone saw you more clearly than you saw yourself. Inside the envelope was a second document, a geological appraisal dated 6 months before Arthur's death. Estimated value of mineral rights, $3, $2 million. I didn't call my mother right away. I sat with it for 3 days. I contacted a lawyer first, a woman named Diane Rothman who specialized in property and estate law. She reviewed the documents in her office while I sat across from her, hands folded, waiting. This is airtight, she said finally. Recorded deed, notarized, filed with the county 4 years ago. Your mother can sell the surface property, but she has no claim to the subsurface rights. Those are yours. She doesn't know. Diane looked up. Are you sure? I thought about that. About the locked workshop, the speed of the sale, the way Patricia had shut me down every time I asked questions. I don't think so, I said, but I'm not sure. Either way, you need to notify her before the sale closes. If the buyer isn't informed about the severed mineral rights, there could be legal complications. I nodded. That night, I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, her voice clipped. Claire, I'm in the middle of something. Grandpa left me the mineral rights to the property. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? He filed a deed 4 years ago. It's on record with the county. He transferred all subsurface rights to me. Another pause, longer this time. That's not possible. It's public record, Mum. I have a certified copy. I heard her breathing, sharp, controlled. How much are they worth? There it was. Not why didn't he tell me, or are you sure it's legitimate? Just, how much? A little over 3 million. The line went dead silent. When she spoke again, her voice was different, colder. You need to talk to my attorney before you do anything. I already have my own attorney. Claire, she said my name like a warning, don't make this complicated. I'm not making it anything, I'm just telling you what Grandpa did. He was 81 years old when he supposedly filed this. Do you have any idea how easy it is to challenge? He was 77, and he was sharper than most people half his age. Silence again. Then she hung up. The sale of the house fell through. Once the buyer's attorney discovered the mineral rights had been severed, they backed out. They'd been purchasing the land for development, and without subsurface control, the deal didn't make sense. Patricia tried to relist it. But word had spread in the county, no serious offers came in. Vanessa called me 2 weeks later. "You're destroying Mom's reputation," she said. "No greeting, just accusation." "I'm not doing anything. You're making her look incompetent, people are talking." Then maybe she should have done a title search before listing the property. God, Claire, do you hear yourself? This is our family. And Grandpa was family too. She exhaled, sharp and frustrated. "He left you $3 million, and you can't even let Mom have the house?" "He left me the mineral rights. She can still sell the surface." "For what? A quarter of what it was worth." I didn't respond. Vanessa's voice softened, but only slightly. "Look, I know you and Grandpa were close, I get it, but Mom's been carrying this family for years. She put us through school, she kept the business running when Dad was sick. Doesn't that count for something?" "It does." "Then why are you doing this?" "Because he wanted me to have it." The line went quiet. Then Vanessa said, "I can't talk to you right now," and hung up. I leased the mineral rights to a rare earth extraction company the following spring. The terms were fair, they handled all extraction and processing. I received royalties based on production yield. The first payment arrived in July. I used part of it to establish a scholarship fund at the state university, for students studying geology or environmental science. I named it after Arthur. I haven't spoken to my mother in 2 years. Vanessa sends Christmas cards, but we don't call. My mother sold the surface property eventually, for less than half the original asking price. I don't know what she did with the money. I don't ask. Part 7, The Things We Carry. I kept the wooden box. It sits on a shelf in my office now, next to a photo of Arthur and me standing beside an outcrop in the Smokies. I was 16 in the photo, sunburned and smiling, holding a piece of quartz he'd just pulled from the rock face. Inside the box, I keep 3 things. The deed, the letter, and the small stone he left me, pyrite, as it turned out, fool's gold. But he knew I'd understand the joke. Not everything that glimmers is valuable. And not everything valuable glimmers. Sometimes I think about calling my mother. I draft messages I never send. I didn't do this to hurt you. I just couldn't let him disappear without honoring what he wanted. But I don't send them. Because I know what she'd say. That I chose money over family. That I was selfish. That Arthur manipulated me. And maybe part of her believes that. But I know the truth. Arthur didn't leave me money. He left me proof that someone had been paying attention. That the quiet hours I spent in his workshop weren't wasted. That I mattered enough to protect. And that's worth more than anything buried in the ground. Even now, years later, I sometimes go back to the property. The house is gone, torn down by the new owner. But the workshop is still there. I asked the extraction company to preserve it as part of the lease agreement. I go inside sometimes. Sit at the old workbench. Run my hands over the wood. And I think about the man who spent 38 years underground, learning to see what others walked over. He taught me that the most valuable things are often invisible. That patience isn't passivity. That silence can be a form of care. And that family isn't always the people who share your name. Sometimes it's the person who sees you clearly and leaves you something no one else can take away. If you've ever been the one who was overlooked, until you weren't, drop a comment, hit subscribe, and remember, not everything worth having is on the surface.